It has been 4 years since Knuckles arrived to Equestria. He remembered that day when it happened. He was fighting with along his old friends against Dr. Eggman. Dr. Eggman had gathered all the Chaos Emeralds and he activated the machine to cause chaos control. There was this bright flash of light, and the next thing he remembers that he is waking up on a meadow and having a strange being next to him, which later to find out was to be a pony, and her name was Fluttershy. She asked him if he was okay, and he said that he was okay, it's just a little bit felt dizzy. That was then when he found out he wasn't any longer on his own world. Because when he asked where he were, and she said that he was in Equestria, there was a place that he never heard of. Even at first, he didn't have any idea how that's even possible, but then he remembers. Chaos Control. He knows that it could be Chaos Control can teleport you from one location to another. So he maybe believed that maybe that Equestria could have been part of the world that he was from, but it was one place that he never heard of. But then he realized, what if he was even not on the same planet anymore, but not in the same dimension? Fluttershy asked him if he could stand up, which he did without a problem. She took him back into town, where a lot of ponies looked at him. They had never seen a creature like him. Fluttershy introduced Knuckles to some of her friends, included Twilight. Twilight was very eager to know more about Knuckles, especially how he ended up in this world. But she promised him that she would try to find if there was any potential spell that could teleport him back to his world. But she couldn't make any promises that she could do it, but she would promise to at least try to find if there was any way for that. So Fluttershy offered Knuckles to stay at her place for meantime. And during the time, he actually got to know her better and better. But after about a week, he found out there was no way for him to return to his old home. He was devastated, especially now he felt that he had failed his biggest mission or the biggest duty of all time, to guard the Master Emerald. Since he was the last of the Knuckle tribe to guard the Master Emerald, he believed that he failed his duty and shouldn't be called the Guardian anymore. But it was until then when he started to realize, even now that he can no longer return home, he was wondering what will his purpose be now. Some of his new friends, Fluttershy, Twilight, and the others that he got to know, actually was wondering what he should do now. But that was 4 years ago. Now he had actually become very much a new purpose. He actually become the new gym teacher at the School of Friendship. Due to the fact of his skills in martial art and his extensive training experience, fighting skills and all that. When he actually was, at the time, he didn't know exactly what new purpose that he wanted to do. He was trying to do things all the time, like construction work or work at the Sweet Apple Acres. But he was actually quite impressed with how this new skills of his to be put as a gym teacher. At first, he had a little bit hard to figure that out. But it was actually Rainbow Dash who was the one who suggested that he should be the new gym teacher. Even though that Knuckles at first was a little bit hesitating to that. But he was actually, after a while of thinking about it, actually accepted it. And even at first, he didn't believe that the students at School of Friendship weren't actually felt comfortable around him. But when he realized that School of Friendship wasn't just mainly ponies, there were actually a few other students like a jack, dragon, a hippogriff, and so many others. He decided why not? If there were a few non-ponies students at this school, he should probably felt more comfortable and perhaps a little bit more home. And during this time, Fluttershy had told Knuckles that Twilight had offered him a place at her castle as his own home. At first, he was a little bit hesitating to that, but eventually he accepted it. He actually felt more at home this place. But was even though he now had a new purpose, he still felt a little bit off sometimes. And the reason why that he felt a little bit different most of the time is, of course, that he missed his old home, his old friends, especially his former occupation, Guardian of the Master Emerald. But even so, he really wanted to maintain the new purpose. But one day, Knuckles overheard a conversation between Applejack and Rainbow. They were talking about this upcoming Buckball tournament. He was actually a little bit curious to know more about this Buckball. So, when they were finished, Knuckles walked up to Rainbow Dash and asked her more about this Buckball. He actually never heard of this sport before and asked what it was like or how it had even been played. So, she told him that after school is over, she can take him to the Buckball playfield so that he can see how the sport is being played. So, during the day, he focused on his gym teaching and other classes that he took part of. After school was over for the day, he waited outside for Rainbow Dash, and she took him to the Buckball playfield, and he was standing there watching while Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, and Pinkie and a few others played the game, and he actually got the understanding of the basic how this was played. And even when some of the others asked if he wanted to play, he said, "Well, I'm not a pony, and I don't know if I am actually being even allowed." But even Twilight, who was there to also been watching the game, and she said, "This game is for every species to play. You don't really have to be flying or even don't have to be using magic. Since there are Earth ponies here, they don't have the flying ability and they don't even have magic. They're using their own tactics, their own styles, and all their own. Well, basically, they're using their intelligence, their advantage of the ground." "Yeah, that's pretty much," said Twilight and even Rainbow Dash. "Well, I can give it a try," said Knuckles, and he did try it, but it was a little bit difficult for him since the others are on 4 legs and he was on 2 legs. But he said, "Yeah, I mean, this is not a bad game. I prefer maybe just being watching a game." And he later found out that Applejack and Rainbow Dash were the ones going to be the coaches for the game, for the tournament. And unfortunately, one thing happened. Just only a few days before the team were supposed to be leaving for going to Manhattan, Applejack had been cut off from that. She actually had been asked by her cousin Brayburn, who lived in Appaloosa, if she could come over to help them with this biggest harvest. They were needed of some extra help. And at first, Applejack, when she had even told her friends about this, especially Rainbow Dash. When Applejack came to the school one early morning, she saw that Rainbow Dash and Knuckles were just talking, and Rainbow Dash saw Applejack and is like, "Hey, Applejack, are you ready for the game tomorrow in a few days?" About that, Sugar Cube, I have some bad news. What is it? She asked. Well, I may have to be staying off this as being one of the coaches. But how and why? Asked Rainbow Dash as surprised. Well, you see, and then she explained. But there was only one other problem. Each team needed two coaches. If there were only one, if they only didn't had two coaches and other, they would have to be disqualified. And that was the problem. None of the other players could have been the coach and the player at the same time. That was the rules. And since Applejack usually is an adult player, but she was also the coach. Even though Rainbow Dash and Applejack are blackball players, but they had been considered to be coaches. They had hired some new players for this time. And after that, Applejack said that she was sorry and she didn't even expect this. Even the Rainbow tried to ask if it was possible they could, perhaps, if her cousin could ask for somebody else to help them. But unfortunately, he had only tried to ask a few other relatives in different towns. But all of them were all busy with their harvest. What about Big Macintosh? She asked. But Big Macintosh was not at home. In fact, he was on his honeymoon with Sugar Bell for another week, and Apple Bloom was not allowed since she has school, and Grace Smith, who is she is too old for that, so Applejack was the only other option. And Rainbow's like, well, I may have to tell this to the Twilight and that we had to cancel our tournament. She's gonna be disappointed in this. She was really looking forward to this. And after that, Applejack left and went to class. I was looking forward to this. But then Knuckles said, well, maybe you will find somebody else to be as the coach. Who else would have been asking? Other players had to be in focus. Fluttershy could have been, but she is one of the players, and now she can change her mind because... What about Discord? Discord? I don't think so. He's busy with some other things. Rarity? Rarity? Nah, she has never played a game, so I wouldn't even know. Twilight? No, she has a lot of things to be taking care of herself, like the duties of being a princess, and the head mayor, and yeah, that will be too much for her to be handling that. Well, I had to go to my class. See you later, Knuckles. See you later, Rainbow. After that Rainbow left, Knuckles stood there in the hallway, felt a little bit disappointed to that because he had been seeing how eager that Rainbow Dash were looking forward to this tournament. Now where one of the coaches had to be back out, see all this eagerness in Rainbow Dash. All that's happy, eager, now almost crushed. So he had one idea. He went straight to Twilight's office, knocked on the door. Who is it? It's me, Knuckles. You have a moment? Yeah, come in. So, what can I do for you, Knuckles? We have a slight problem here, Twilight, he said, and sat down. What is it? Ponyville's basketball team may have been back off, or cancelled. Wait, what? She's Twilight, almost shocked. What do you mean? Turned out that Applejack had to back off or step out from this, and then he explained what Applejack had told him and Rainbow. I don't know what to say. I mean, I know that how much Rainbow was looking forward to this. Yeah, and you know, I had never seen her so eager and so excited. But I had an idea. Go on, I'm listening. How about we actually had someone else to be as a coach? Well, I don't know if there's anyone else for that is had the time to doing it. But who did you had in mind, if may ask? Myself. You? Definitely. But I know at least most of the basic rules, and I know how the game works. And like I said, I know all the rules. I know how the game plays. And as you've seen, other students like my gym teaching classes. You know what? That's probably not a bad option. Yeah, Apple Apple arranged that for you to be the new coach. Thank you, Snuggles. Anytime, Twilight. Well, I should probably go to read my class, and so I won't be late. We probably should announce this to Rainbow after school at the field multiplayers. Yeah, we can do that. So after school was over, Rainbow Dash were at the field, and when she arrived, she saw Knuckles, Twilight, and other players, and she was well expecting to. She was actually going to announcing to the players that the team was no longer being a part of the tournament. Everybody, I had some news to tell all of you. Oh, if you're referring to the backpole tournament that's being cancelled, well, as for us, yeah, we heard. Then she realized that at least one thing that had taken care of, but we have some good news for you, said Twilight. Oh? The team is still gonna be part of the tournament. Wait, what? How? Me. Wait, Knuckles? Yep. I'm gonna be playing as a coach. Wait, you? Definitely. I know all the rules. I know how the game works, so I actually offer my assistance. And Twilight actually had taking care of the problem, the documents, all that. So I have been approved. So we are off to the tournament in a few days. Hope you're at the game. Rainbow Dash had no words. She was completely taken off guard. Knuckles, I'm surprised. I'm speechless. How did you even manage to think of that? And then he said, well, seeing how eager and excited you were for this, and I couldn't just see that excitement in you just faded away like that. And also knowing how much of the other players has been excited for themselves. Rainbow was very much speechless, but she just smiled and gave Knuckles a hug. She didn't know exactly what to expect, but the whole team was well excited. Within the next few days, the whole team went to Manhattan for the first game. And it was a great deal. Because Knuckles, as a second coach, managed to teaching the others what to do, showing them some new tactics, strategy, and even Rainbow was actually quite surprised and actually very impressed of his strategies. He explained after the first game was over that he used one of his old battle tactics when he was fighting against an old enemy back home to the game. Similar worked, and it did. Even Applejack, who later found out about this, she was actually impressed and thankful to Knuckles. And throughout the entire tournament in Manhattan, the team actually had a great deal of events. They were so much that was excited. They were even facing some teams from all Equestria, but even a team of Griffins, a whole team of Griffins, and Knuckles was a little bit curious to know more about this team. While his team wasn't playing, he actually went to the other teams' times, their turns, to study their performance, hoping to find a weakness or maybe a strategy that they can use against their opponents. And for the most part, it actually worked, because after studying some of that, he told Rainbow, and she totally agreed to use some of the tactics that he had learned. Unfortunately, when they came to the final, it was something that they unexpected happened. They were facing a team of ponies from Baltimore. Baltimore team was giving them the hard resistance in the game. It wasn't until nearly the end there was 12 against 12 points for both teams. The whole audience was silent. They were wondering who's going to be putting the next final point and win the whole tournament. Even though the Baltimore team seems to have their advantage, since it turned out they have been training this for much longer, more extensive than the Ponyville team has. But Knuckles pulled the team to him just before the last few moments and told them a new tactics. And the team was like, "Are you sure this is gonna work?" "We don't know until we try it." And Rainbow said that it was probably best that you still try it. So the team did. And it paid off. Ponyville team managed to pull the final point. And the judge called off the game, and Ponyville won. The whole tournament went great. The other teams actually welcomed, or at least gratitude to the Ponyville team. And after that, the team came back to quest to Ponyville. Applejack is on a few days after came back home, and she found out what happened, and she was stunned. But she was just happy that Knuckles managed to help them. But the one that was most happy was Rainbow Dash. She told them even though they wouldn't have won, she was still being grateful to Knuckles to have managed to help them. If he had even stepped in as the new coach, she would have been disappointed that the whole team would have been training so much, would have been had to leave, not even take part in the tournament. And that's what she called, "Knuckles, you are truly a true friend." And this is how Knuckles and Rainbow Dash became true friends. The end.